Every blade of grass will start to be v'simcha. We have to show them it's worth it for them to be v'simcha. you so much for coming. I sing for hours tonight. I feel I sing for hours, but I almost have to leave right when we finish, so I'm going to get straight to it. I'm still not on the Seder. I feel like we haven't seen each other we haven't learned together since before Hanukkah, and I feel like when you go through this wash of Hanukkah, and you just have a complete new vision, new everything, new way of understanding and feeling and seeing and hearing everything, that everything is new. Everything in the world is new again. We were longing for Hanukkah so badly, we wanted it so badly, running to the Neirot, running to these candles after what we've been experiencing here in Eretz Yisrael. And now that we went through it, my brother-in-law just told me he's not putting his menorah away till Pesach. What'd you say? Pesach.
Shalom Bayis, Pesach.
For Shalom Bayis, you're putting it back by Pesach and not by Sukkot. So we're still holding on to the shamas. We're still holding on to whatever it is that's going to keep our hearts fire, and we need it so badly. So there's so many new faces, a lot of new faces tonight. Thank you so much, everyone, for coming. Oh, here it's working right now. Let me just get this set up for them. Talk about Shalom Bayis. Yeah, this is good. Recorder. Here we go. Web Yeshiva students, can you hear me? Thank you so much, and I'm sorry. Okay, great. Yofi. You know those moments where you have so much that's going on over here, and you can't even figure out how to begin to pour out what's inside. And you have all these thoughts of, oh, I'm going to say this, I'll share that, and that'll trigger something, and that'll trigger something, and then it's like, how could you prepare anything when you're surrounded by certain people? They bring out stuff in you that can only happen when you're in their presence. So whatever we're going to say tonight, I just want you to know, B'ezrat Hashem, whenever we learn together, I want you to know, I hope you hear yourselves while we're learning. That it's not just a dictation of a shiur. That it's really, that you could see anything that's coming from you also with what we're learning. I just hope you feel that very strongly, because I sometimes listen back or go back to the shiur, I'm like, oh, it's so amazing, yeah, they brought that out, they brought that down, or that person brought that out, or that person said that, I mean it. So it's just a tremendous chut. And we have so much to learn tonight. I just pray the Rebbeinu Shalom will send refuah shlema immediately to Michal Moshe Zev ben Yehudis, Binyamin Nachman Mordechai ben Ilana, and Lesson Daniel ben Malka, and all other Cholei Yisrael. I was saying, Mama, Jackie, did my friend call you? She didn't. Oh, you're here. Okay. And wow. And for the refuah shlema of Alter Shorish ben Zion, do you remember? Well, for now, HaKohen. For now, we'll say Sarah. And if it comes back to us in the middle, we'll come back to it. I want you to know something very special. Approximately, almost close to, I guess, like 18 years ago, this is amazing. This is, for me, very emotional. About 18 years ago, email was just coming out. It's like we were growing up in a world where email was just, email's always been there, right? I think email was just coming out. I don't even remember if it was email or not, but I knew, I was 16-year-old, I was living in Los Angeles, and I knew that I need to learn how to daven. And the only way I can learn how to daven is by watching whatever footage I can of my Rebbe, whatever videos are around. So I had a lot of holy, I don't know if it was holy chutzpah or just teenage chutzpah, I don't know what it was, but I found somehow, I don't know how this happened, there used to be a Rabbi Shlomo mailing list, a small mailing list, and someone had mentioned that there was someone that had a video, an important video of Rabbi Shlomo. So I wrote a letter to this person saying, hi, I'm this kid, I just moved to Los Angeles, and I want to know where in the world could I get something that I think you have some kind of connection to, of a video or whatever, and how much does it cost, and I'll get you the money right away. And I got back in the mail, I went to the post office and I picked it up. I got back in the mail of this big package, and in it was this incredible video of Rabbi Shlomo from February of 1994 in Arizona. And my brother and I would sit there watching this video of Rabbi Shlomo and Adar getting ready for Purim, teaching us how to daven, and what Havdalah is, and what Tefillah is, and what the fire for Am Yisrael is all about. And I couldn't believe that this person that I never met before just sent this thing. I couldn't believe it. And then I kept on hearing these Torahs from Rabbi Shlomo that the greatest thing you could ever do for someone is to do them a favor, and you never know. And for years and years and years, I was always like, I could never explain to this person what they did for me, because they showed me that Torah at such an early stage in my life, and it opened up so many gates for me to realize that you never, ever know what you're doing for someone when you're giving them something more than what they thought they were going to get. And I've never met that person that did that for me till right now, because you're sitting here on the couch, and I never even met you before. But I can't even tell you what it means for me that you're in our home. And I can't even tell you that when I watched that video of you introducing Reb Shlomo, and the cover that you gave him, and how you made him so shy and bashful also while doing it, I want you to know I have such kina, you know what kina sofrim, not just jealousy, it's envy, it's holy envy. Just kina sofrim, to recognize true great people while they're alive and not just when they pass away. But I want you to know that your chesed has stayed so close in my heart, and it's been such a matnas chinam in my life that I cherish forever, and I'm so thankful. So thank you so much, and thank you for being the holy shliach. Your daughter's here too?
This is Tiferet.
Hi.
So Alter Shorish ben Sion Moshe HaKohen ben Shoshana should have a refuge.
Amen. 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 One of the most special people ever made in the world. Okay, so this is a very special night on many, many levels, and it's a special night because we're finishing right now Sefer Bereshit. And it's always like, what do you mean? We just start. Are you kidding me? Are you kidding me? It's done? Avram, Yitzchak, Yaakov, Yosef, it's all done already? We just dabbled into it. We just started, and it was like another chance to figure out what you and I are made out of, mamish, to taste our DNA. And I saw something in Rav Kook that our morning Rav Kook Chabura is going to be learning on Thursday, which discusses that in Oros HaTshuva by Rav Kook, by the Heilige Tzaddik, Reb Avram Yitzchak HaKohen Kook, where he says that one of the key elements of tshuva is when we get a glimpse of how much we haven't taken advantage of all that our avot and imahot prepared for us through the Tanakh, through the Torah. So that we have to mamish do tshuva over the fact that we are not using, I guess Reb Shlomo would say, we're not walking on the paths which they have already paved for us. And the only way to really know what's the path they paved for us is crying over every single pasuk in Sefer Bereshit. How else are you going to know? Crying over every single pasuk. To understand really, what did they pave for us? What did they pay for us? What did they really pay for us? What did they leave for us? Because I want that tshuva to be kind of taken care of. I want to know. I don't want to keep on walking around in circles if someone already went through hell for me, you know? That sounds a little bit, not exactly a Jewish concept, but you know what I mean. Like, if someone mamish went through their own nisyonos with the Ribono Shleilam, and they created that path to get to him, why am I keeping on walking around in circles? So Chasdei Hashem, thank God, there was someone that really cried over, there are many, but there was someone whose yortzeit was today, who cried over every single word of the Torah, and who opened up rivers of tears for us to connect to what the Avot and Imahot were all about. And that is the Heilige Mea Shiloach, the Ishbitzer, whose yortzeit was today. The Heilige Reb Mordechai Yosef Leiner of Ishbitz, the Mea Shilach, where we mentioned his name, how many times have we learned from the Ishbitzer in our Monday nights for years? I remember when I was also around that time, 16, I heard Rabbi Shlomo say, you can't understand the Parsha unless you learn the Mea Shilach. So, 16 years old, I go to the Sfarim store, I buy the Mea Shilach, and I'm like, wait, I don't understand the Ishbitzer or the Parsha now. What am I doing? And I was struggling for a while, and then I heard him say once while he was a little tipsy in the beginning of his last Purim in this world, in the Radziner Shtibel in Borough Park, in Purim of 1994, I guess a little week or two after he was Bayu, where he said, there was never such a Melamed Zchus on Yidden like the Ishbitzer. There was never a Rebbe who judged Jews favorably, who always looked at what Yidden were going through and judged them favorably, like the Mea Shilach. Like what he always does is showing us that really, really, really a Jew never ever sinned. It's just an illusion that we're sinned and that we're far from God. All the pain, it's also just illusions. Everything that we go through, all the strife, all the things which seem that they're really tearing us apart, it's not true. Those are things that are actually making you so much closer. Giving Jews strength to feel like they could actually get up after feeling like they fell so low. And every time you learn the Parsha through the eyes of the Ishbitzer, you see in your own life, wait a second, is this feeling of feeling far real? Or is it just this really horrible illusion called Olam Hazeh, called what we go through in this world? And imagine, someone said this morning in Shir in the morning, said something so incredible. Said, can you imagine if you looked at every single hardship in life and instead of looking at it as a risk, you looked at it like an opportunity? And the Ishbitzer, what he does is that he takes everything that seems like, oh, this is risky, you're really playing with your soul, you're really playing. He's saying, no, instead of seeing it risky, he's saying, Mamish, this is an opportunity. To go really to stretch this Torah really, really far. It can get a little bit dangerous here, but, whatever, we're ready, it's the Ishbitzer's Yotzei, so he'll take care of us. He's, there's this whole teaching in El about that. And in a weird way, in Shamayim, it says that no person does anything down here unless that angel in Shamayim lets a person do something. So how could they let us in Shamayim sin if everything is like kind of in control, right? So you know what happens every time a Yiddish sins? Maybe like 99% of the Chevra is like mamish gefelach and they're falling on their faces crying. But maybe there's like that one cheerleader or that one mascot that's like that, doing cartwheels in the corner saying, another person's gonna pave a new path to tshuva. There's gonna be another path that another person's created that never existed before. So now you'll say, okay, so now let's go sin so we could all prepare all our, we can mamish create new. It doesn't work like that, But we have to remember right now is that, we've been singing the Nigun Va'afilu Ba'astara B'toch Ha'astar, and the hiddenness of all hiddennesses. It's like, it's so clear how right now, Rav Kook's words about it's time to make sure that we really understand what our Avot and Imahot paved for us. You have to really understand what it's all about. Because if not, you're going to have to do tshuva over it. That you didn't see what our Avot and Imahot were crying over. And here, we're sitting over here, 5 minutes away from Mama Rachel's buried. Her tears are enough to rebuild the third temple. And we're sitting right here, that holy woman's tears. So it gives us the opportunity right now that should be an Eis Ratzon, a time of opening of gates and of infinite will for us to stop the biggest avodah zarah that we're stuck with in our generation, which is called self-persecution. We become such big rebbes when it comes to being self-persecutors. The biggest. We could fight over who does it best. Who does it best in this room? Who does it best in this room? It's me, right? Who does it best? Come on, now you're all humble and shy, right? Who does it best? Nah, suddenly no one. You guys treat yourselves like proper b'nei and b'not melech, right? Right. Come on. It's something we're all stuck in. Right now, tonight, it's not going to be about us directly, it'll be about us indirectly. And that's going to be to understand in a deep way, based on the Mea Shilach, based on the Ishbitzer, saying goodbye to Sefer Bereshit, and understanding how the Ishbitzer sees the last thing that Yaakov Avinu really does in this world. the last thing, which is what he's leaving us with. So I'm going to go straight into the text tonight because it's that good. And it's a combination of a few different pieces from the second Chelik in Rabbi Shlomo. Chazdei Hashem, I definitely don't have enough pages tonight for everybody. But it's a very, very special piece. And we're going to go, it seems like it's very long, we're going to fly with this. Got one more in the back.
We're already buddies.
Okay. Web Yeshiva students, you could still hear me, correct? It's in the kind of, yeah. Kind of. Okay, did it reach the back? Daniela, you got? Oh, there's extra. Oh, great. Avi, you got? You got? Yeah. Ruth, you have? Yes. Mazel tov. Happy 10 years. Okay, let's go right into it. This first Torah saved my life. Saved my life. So Rabbi Shlomo says like this. Today's December 29th, right?
Yeah.
So this is December 29th, 1971 in San Francisco in the House of Love and Prayer. He said this. He taught this. This is December 29th, 1971. What's that? I was -9. Okay. What's age? What's age got to do with it? All right. There's always a little space between every portion in the Torah, Rabbi Shlomo says. So Rashi explains that between the parshas of Vayigash and Vayechi, there's no space. Why? It's called the Parsha Stuma. Right? Why? Because when Yaakov died, suddenly there was no space left in the world. So that's why, if you noticed, I was leaning this morning and I was having a hard time finding the beginning of where to start, because usually a new parsha, you start it, it's its own parak, it's its own paragraph. Here, like the last parsha, how does it end? Vayifru me'od, the end of Vayigash, that we were fruitful and we did good in Goshen, and then it right away, Vayechi Yaakov be'eretz Mitzrayim 17 shana. And then it right away goes right into the next parsha. Usually there's a space between there. I think it's 8 spaces or 9 spaces where the Sofrim have to leave between parshiot. Here, there's nothing. There's no space in between. Why? Because here why is there no space to breathe? Yaakov Avinu dying and his death leaves in this world. There's suffocation. Mamish suffocating. I want to tell you something very deep. Why is there always a space between one portion and the other? The space is there in order for people to think. You end one portion, you think a little bit, and then something new happens. But when it comes to the portion of the beginning of the exile, there's nothing to think about. Because the exile is beyond everybody's thinking about it. Okay, just outside the text, I want to share with you something that now I don't feel embarrassed saying, but last week, I was so bothered by the parsha I couldn't get over it because I didn't understand why is everyone treating Vayigash as if it starts off really, really, really intense, and then Vayigash elav Yehuda. Yehuda comes and pours out his kishkas to Yosef, and then what happens? He reveals who he is. Ani Yosef ha'od avichai. It's all beautiful. They go bring Yaakov. They're crying. Binyamin crying, saying Kriyat Shema, everything's amazing, and then the parsha ends that Am Yisrael is officially now where? In Galus, and they're doing good. Why would that be a good ending to a parsha? And why don't we think about that? Wait a second. Wouldn't it end it off amazingly if what would happen? But Yosef would say to Paro, you know what? Let me now go set up shop where I came from. Why is everyone saying, oh, come, bring them here, take everybody here? Why doesn't Yosef say, you know what, I don't know about who's ruling by the Canaanites, but we're Egyptian, we're powerful, We could take over that area. Why wouldn't it be much more sweeter if the Parsha would have ended by saying, and after they all gathered together and saw how much of a beautiful life Yosef had, and met his wife, Osnat, and met the boys, Ephraim and Menashe, that now they would go back north. Why does the Parsha end by saying, and they're doing great? Where? Outside the land. Well, that's one of the reasons why it's a Parsha Stuma. You could already smell that exile was beginning. Exile was on its way. And when exile is on its way, what's the siman of exile? You don't really have time to think. On a very tachlis, practical way of understanding why there's no physical space in the Torah, in this Parsha, this is what it means. Is that when you're in Galus, there's no time to think about anything. But we're going to go much deeper into that right now. Third line in the third paragraph. There's nothing to feel about it, nothing to think about it, because we don't understand it. We don't know what it is. Even deeper. Do you know what exile means? Exile means that I've stopped thinking and stopped feeling. When I'm not in exile, I feel everything that I'm learning. Exile learning, this is what an amazing concept. Exile learning, I know it's amazing because I've been talking to so many people about this concept, exile learning. People that are sitting and learning day and night, but they feel in Golus, they don't feel they're learning. They don't feel what they are learning. So Rabbi Shlomo says exile learning is when I'm reading the portion, but I don't think and I don't feel. And I hope that it doesn't happen here, but I'm open to the fact that it might. But how many times have you gone to a shiur and you're sitting there, there's words happening, there's maybe even text, and you leave and you have no idea what anything was about, not because you're flying so high, but because you should have no idea. Mm-hmm. And even if you learned it, meaning even if it makes sense to you. So you go home and you could say, I just pocketed a lot of really valuable information. That's exile learning. What's geuladik learning? What's redemptive learning? Is that it causes you to think. It causes you to act. It causes you to be one with what you're learning. Here Rabbi Shlomo is saying, exile learning is when I'm reading the portion, but I don't think and I don't feel. Like for what? Let's say, I eat food and yet I'm still hungry. That's exile eating, because my eating doesn't help. I don't even want to get started, Chavra. Exile davening. Exile davening. Should I start or should I not? I want to start. No. No, I was mamish. You know what? Was anyone with me this Shabbos? We were somewhere. I'm not going to mention it. We were somewhere. You know why it's so sad? Because it's in Eretz Yisrael, where you feel exile davening. That's why it hurts even more, you know. Exile davening. So since the beginning of the exile is when Yaakov came down to Egypt in this Parsha, there's nothing to think about and nothing to feel. So obviously where we're going to go right now is understand how to feel Galus in order to then eventually feel Eretz Yisrael when we do eventually come back. So Shlomo says like this, and this is an amazing pshat. I'm going to say it outside a little bit, but that was just an opening for us to understand the following. When we learn the Parsha, something really strange occurs. When Yaakov is about to die and he summons Yosef HaTzadik, his son, a father telling his son, this is how the conversation goes. Oh, pretty please, if you like me at all, if you could look at me and see chen, please don't bury me in Egypt. Why would a father talk like that to his son? And that's what happens in this parsha. Yaakov's about to die, and he tells Yosef, Im na matzasi chen beinecha, if I have found chen, if I have found favor in your eyes, then please don't bury me in Egypt. If the Torah wants to teach us about kibud horim, it's doing a really lousy job in Parshat Vayechi, specifically in the beginning of Parshat Vayechi. What are you begging? You're begging your son to please bury me where you should say, and this is where I want to be buried. What's going on over here? And especially, why do you have to explain to him even that to do it in Eretz Yisrael? It should be clear that's where he wants to be buried. And further, I'll throw one more question. And this is a question that someone asked at the Shabbos table this week, that a lot of the Mefarshim speak about this. For all those years that Yosef was in Egypt, he couldn't have informed his father once where he was and that he was okay, and he kept him worrying all those years. How many years was it? 22 years? Remember, Yosef HaTzadik, he's the longest lasting ruler in Mitzrayim, in Egyptian history. This is a crazy thing. I once saw this. Out of all the paros that existed, Yosef HaTzadik ruled longer than any Egyptian ruler for 80 years. 80 years Yosef HaTzadik is a ruler. How do you say that very funny biblical word in English? It starts with a V to describe his title. Viceroy? Viceroy, yeah. A ruler, yeah. A second in command. And then what happens is, Yosef HaTzadik, right after he gets that command from his father, and his father dies, do you know who Yosef HaTzadik, the second in command, what he does? It says that after he got up from being very much in Avelus, he goes to Beit Paro, which means he finds one of the Chavrei Knesset there, one of the Knesset members in the Egyptian parliament, and he says, listen, please, if I found favor in your eyes, please let me go bury my father up in Egypt. What are you talking about? You're the second in command. What are you going to beg and kvetch? But he uses the same words that his father used for him. Please, if I that doesn't make sense. A father to a son begging doesn't make sense. Second in command to a bunch of a bunch of lower. I don't know how to say this, but a bunch of politicians. Yeah, that's like the highest thing I could say about them. A bunch of politicians. Please, if I found chen in your eyes, something monstrous is taking place in Yaakov Avinu's end of Yaakov Avinu's life. Now we all say that Yaakov Avinu tells them, "Come gather together, and I want to tell you the end of days. I want to tell you how it's going to be." And then everyone thinks, that Rashi means Nistalka Mimeno Shechina, that the Shechina suddenly went away from him, and therefore what? You and I are still wondering what he would have said. Rabbi Shlomo and the Ishbitzer take this, they take our ways of understanding the Pshat, squeeze out any ounce of shallowness and pettiness out of the way that we read the Torah, and give us mamash a new heart of understanding how this Parsha, what this Parsha is really all about, and what Yaakov Avinu was doing, and why he said what he said to Yosef HaTzadik. And the next few words, we're going to see how it answers all the questions that we just had right now. Before he dies, Yaakov Avinu said to Yosef, Imna matzasi chen beinecha, please, my son, if I have found grace in your eyes, you've got to bury me in the Holy Land. Let me ask you a very stupid question. Is there any law about where you have to be buried? Is there halacha like this, friends? Do you know? You have to be buried. No?
That is there.
No? No, you have to be buried. There's laws regarding how you're buried. There's laws regarding the period of before burial, right after burial, but there's no halacha that says where you have to be buried. In the Jewish cemetery. God spoke to us on Mount Sinai, but he didn't mention any law about where you have to be buried. So on the level of right or wrong, it's meaningless. You die and then you're buried. But that's on the level of right or wrong. On a Mashiach level, I have to be buried in the Holy Land. Okay. I'll just pause for 1 second, Chavra. You hear what Rabbi Shlomo just said? On a Mashiach level, from the sons of Yaakov, who is he referring to when he says on a Mashiach level? Yehuda. You have to be buried in Eretz Yisrael. On a level of right or wrong, who is he talking about? Who's the king of knowing between right and wrong? Yosef HaTzadik. According to Yosef, the way Yosef lived his life is that he never did. He always knew what to do. He always knew what was right. and he always knew what was wrong. And that's how he always lived his life. And that's why he couldn't stomach the fact that people couldn't be like that. Now let's not knock it, it's a very holy level. But Rabbi Shlomo is saying to us that Yaakov on his deathbed is explaining to his perfect son that it's not only about being perfect. On the level of halacha, of yes or no, do you have to be buried in Eretz Yisrael? No. But on the level of Mashiach, and we're going to understand what that means, how could you not be buried in Eretz Yisrael? How could you not? This portion is the last portion in the book of Bereshis. Bereshis is the book of beginning, and this is the end of the beginning. That means that so far, until this portion, everything is a beginning. And then suddenly, this whole portion talks about Yaakov Avinu's end. Yaakov Avinu wanted legalos es haketz. He wanted to reveal the end to his children, but suddenly the spirit of prophecy left him. Do you know what a prophet is? A prophet is a holy man with a very high vision. He can tell you exactly what's right and what's wrong. Moshe Rabbeinu gave us the Torah on Mount Sinai, and the Torah is on the level of prophecy. Moshe was the highest prophet. It doesn't say anywhere that Mashiach will be a prophet. Now look what he says here. This is so important. I'm sure he will be a prophet, but this is not what makes Mashiach the Messiah. The end is not about prophecy, which is what, let's face it, we're stuck in a prophetic way of seeing the end. Wow, what is that sign? And how does he explain it? And this must mean this must mean that. Like on a prophetic level. But Rabbi Shlomo says it's much deeper than prophecy. Much, much deeper than prophecy. Meaning, the way that the great day is going to come is much deeper than someone being able to tell me it has to be like this and it's not going to be like this. There's something deeper than that, than just someone coming to you like a teacher and teaching you information. Because a prophet, as high as he is, he's relaying, what is he relaying to the people? Information. It's holy information, but it's still informing us how and when things are going to take place. But Rabbi Shlomo says, for us today, come on, how many people have been let down here by, I hate to say this, but by prophecies in their own life, in the big world? Not that the prophecies are not going to take place, not that, God forbid, the prophets of the Nevi'im. Talking about you go to certain, so-called rebbes and the prophecies just start pouring forth out of their mouth, and then when you see like one out of every 27 things they say happens, you start to wonder if you're a bad Jew, if they're a bad Jew, and you just a lot of bad things and bad thoughts start happening. Rabbi Shlomo says, you know what? It's going to come the end of days. Everyone's going to think that they have to find prophets to reveal to them all these prophecies. Mashiach's not about that. He probably will be a prophet. But him being a prophet is not what makes him Mashiach. Because our concept of Geula, of redemption, is so much deeper than someone like that. And even a magician, that can come and perform a bunch of miracles in front of me. Remember what Rabbi Shlomo said? He said, if the biggest tzaddik would perform the greatest miracle in front of me right now and tell me that Shabbos is on Sunday, I still wouldn't believe him. And then he said the craziest thing. He said, if God himself came down and told me that Shabbos is on Sunday, I wouldn't believe him either. That's just way, you got to be really way out there. That's just so way. If God himself came to me and told me, because Rabbi Shlomo is saying, sorry, you're God, and you said other, you said, but that's just a very, prove it, right? Okay, now, I know that's a little bit far out. Take a deep breath and come back inside. So here the Ishbitzer says a Gevalt Torah. What did it mean when Yaakov Avinu said to Yosef, if I have found chen in your eyes, please don't bury me in Egypt, bury me in the Holy Land? So the Ishbitzer asks, why did Yaakov Avinu have to ask Yosef about chen? Yaakov Avinu was asking Yosef for a favor. But Yosef would have done anything in the world for his father Yaakov. Yaakov could have just asked Yosef to bury him in Israel and that's it. What's going on? And this will answer our question. of why Yosef didn't tell his father. It might answer the question. Why Yosef didn't tell his father that he was okay all these years. Our mother Rachel, which is Yosef's mother, was buried right by the border of Israel, but not in Hebron, with the holy mothers and fathers. And Yaakov sensed that Yosef was a little bit angry with him about this. Yosef didn't say he was angry, but Yaakov felt it. Yaakov could hear Yosef thinking, you want me to bring you from Egypt all the way to Hebron to lie next to Avram and Yitzchak? What about my mother? You didn't even bring her a few miles from Beit Lechem to Hebron. Now you see in the Torah, in Rishon, it's amazing that right after Yaakov Avinu asks, please bury me, and then what does it say? Va'ani bevo'i mi padan aram meta alai Rachel. He starts explaining. He starts explaining to his son right after he asks, bury me in Egypt. Then he says, and by the way, before you say anything, let's just cover some ground. We missed a lot of years. I want to cover something with you. Your mother died on me in the middle of the way, and trust me. The Midrash says that he really told him, trust me, I had to bury her here because of that incredible Midrash of Vishavu Banim Nigvulam. But he says, but trust me, I know you've been thinking about this all these years. And I know it's been driving you crazy. It was just the two of you, you and Binyamin, and your mother died while she was giving birth to your brother. Tight-knit family. That family unit, Yosef, Binyamin, and Rachel, very tight-knit, When Yosef meets Binyamin, and Binyamin introduces him to his sons, so there's all these names, Bela and Becher, and the Midrash says, every name that Binyamin named his sons, I think it was 10 sons, all corresponded to his brother Yosef. It was all connected to Yosef HaTzadik, to his brother who he never really knew. Because how old was Binyamin when the brothers sold him? So it's just an incredible thing over here that Yaakov says, this orphan, he has every right to be angry at me. All he really had was me as a father, busy with all my wives, juggling a whole mishpacha, trying to balance everyone out while my sister got raped. Like, there was so many things going on. And he senses that he was holding on to this for all those years, because Yaakov says to himself, there's no other reason why he wouldn't have told me that he's okay. There's no other reason. How could he have been away from me for so many years, a ruler in Egypt, and not send word to me that he's okay? It must be that he's holding on to this. And you see how the Torah, right after he says, please bury me in Egypt, he says right away, and I know this is a very touchy subject for you, my son, asking you to bury me in a certain specific place, because you have every right, al pi pshat, to be mad at me for the way that I buried your mother. But please, now I'm not asking you on the level of what's right or what's wrong. I'm asking you on a deeper level, on the level of chen. You see? On the level of right or wrong, is it right for Yaakov Avinu to ask his son Yosef exactly where to bury him? In a place that's going to be not with his mother and with everyone else? Ma pitom. It's not right. So that's why he says, Imna matzasi chen. Chen, which is we keep on coming back to in this shir. When someone has chen, you don't answer them or treat them on the level of right or wrong. When someone has chen, they could disappoint you day after day, night after night, year after year. But when they carry within them the quality of chen, and they ask for something, you don't answer them on the level of right or wrong. You answer them on the level of chen. I always tell you guys, my guitarist, he's not my guitarist not much anymore, because Baruch Hashem, he's doing really good in the world right now. His own blues, his music. But Laser drives me nuts, if you know my boy Laser. Maybe he'll watch this one day and it's okay. I love you, Laser, but the truth is, you've driven me, sugar. If I have any white hairs on my beard, it's only because of looking at the clock, and I can't believe, whether it's airports or weddings or concerts, because en ma lasot, I usually tell him it's an hour before when he has to be there, so that he only comes an hour late, right? But he realized that, so he started stop that shit too, right? But what's the problem? What's the problem? Exactly. That chen of his, that smile of his, has opened every gate he ever had. You know? Malaseh, on the level of right or wrong, he should have been, no matter how good he is, I shouldn't have taken him, years ago I should have stopped already. And malasot. The guy's swimming with chen. You know, swimming with chen. So on the level of right or wrong, done, you're out of here. This is a business, we take things really seriously, right? We're getting paid, we have to be really real with ourselves, with our clients. And then he comes, and even when he plays, he has chen. That's the highest thing, when you have chen and you're playing, chen and you're singing. Such amazing, an incredible thing. So that's just to explain to us how that worked with Yaakov and Yosef, why it was used in such a language, why a father would talk to a son like that. And with what, and Dafka, why he starts talking about Yosef's mother right after that. So, okay, we're on the bottom of the second page, and here I want you all to listen with the deepest depths of your souls. That just means pay attention for those of you that aren't used to this language. That just means listen up really strong right now, okay? Because I remember when I started learning Rabbi Shlomo, and he would say a line like that. So he'd continue talking, but I'm stuck in what's the soul, what's the deepest depths of my soul. So you have to it just means, trust me, there's a concept, it's called the deepest depths of your souls. You might not know that it exists, but if you just stick with me, I'll bring you there. That's what I feel. If you stick with me, I'll bring you to that place that I'm telling you about right now. Imagine I was on a Greek island and there I met this girl I love the most. I want to go back to this island so badly. Is it because it's right? Does my wanting to go back to this island have anything to do with right or wrong? This wanting is on the level of chen, because this island means so much to me. Do you know what it means to find chen in someone else's eyes? It means to be privileged, to be important to somebody. A lot of people are very beautiful, but they have no chen. You look at them, you see they're beautiful, and that's it. And some people have chen. You think children are just beautiful to their parents? It's not that. They have chen in their parents' eyes. Children have this God-given holiness that makes them so important to their parents. If they wouldn't have this utmost importance, who could bear it? Meaning, you're not gonna, as much as you love your neighbor's children, and you love, even and I love you so much. My brother-in-law whose baby's in the other room, the extent that I could connect to them on chen, it's a gift that's given with a parent and a child. It's mamish, it's their own private chen relationship. It's just for you. It's not the way you look at your child. No one should look at your child like that. That's what makes that importance on such a high level. Rabbi Shlomo says, who could bear it? Meaning, even if with your own children, if you don't have chen in the relationship with your own children, that's screaming at 3 in the morning, or the diapers, or whatever age it is, who could bear it? So this is what it is. Until Yaakov Avinu passed away, now listen, this is so important, because this next paragraph is the exact opposite of the way that not just the leadership in this country sometimes acts, but it's the Jewish so-called establishment, the way it acts all over the world. Way too often. Look what he says here. And if someone can then say after this paragraph, oh, I don't want to come to a shir and hear about politics, you're missing the point. This has nothing to do with politics. Unfortunately, being a Yid today in Eretz Yisrael became such a political thing. It's actually just a really simple Torah concept. Okay, so look at this next paragraph is unbelievable. Until Yaakov Avinu passed away, the Holy Land belonged to us because God gave it to us. On the level of right and wrong, it was our possession. God gave it to us, and therefore it was right that it was our land. But when Yaakov said to Yosef, bury me in the Holy Land, you know what happened? He gave us the Holy Land on the level of chen. Suddenly it was something else. I just have to be there. Not because it's right. I just have to be there. And you know what I'm thinking right now? Avi, this is connected so much to what we were learning with Rav Kook about why the early secular Zionists felt such a dire need to build this, to be here, and build this land, and be part of rebirthing the nation. And really, on a level of like right or wrong, halacha, not halacha, they weren't really connected to that much at all. But Dafka, they're the ones who really started the rebuilding of the issue of this land. Why? Because Yaakov Avinu gave over to Yosef that Eretz Yisrael is not just about right and wrong, because God said so, and God says a lot of things that are right and wrong. But you don't come to Eretz Yisrael only if you feel like you're worthy to. Because it's the right thing, you've been a good Jew, and you paid, and you sent your money to JNF. That's not your connection to Eretz Yisrael. Your connection to Eretz Yisrael, from the time that Yaakov asked Yosef to bury him on the level of Chen, is because you just have to be here. Take those early secular Zionists. Ask them why'd you fight all these wars? Why are you willing to be killed? And I'm just going to repeat something. I'm sorry I'm repeating, but I told you guys what happened in Cape Town last year at the Shabbos table with that Chayal that was sitting there with me, and he seemed to be totally disconnected and not connected to anything Torah-wise. And when one of the rabbis referred to him as such a holy Jew, he looked at us rabbis with beards and said, "No, I'm not. Come on, I'm not." And I looked at him and I said to him, "What'd you do in the army? You went to the army." He said, "Yeah." He said, "How long were you in the army for?" 4 years. "Well, where'd you serve?" And by the way that he answered, I could tell it was a top elite unit, which meant he was risking his life every single day. So I turned to him in front of everyone. I said to him, his name was Ram. I said to him, "Ram," which is pretty cool. That's a pretty cool name, Ram. Ram Benisa. I said to him, "Ram, you were willing to die. You were willing to physically give your life every day for 4 years for God's land." Something I've never done and no one at this table has ever done and probably never will. And yet you think that you're not holy, but we are? You were willing to give your life every single day, correct? He looked at me like a soldier. He said, "Absolutely." Where does that come from, that willingness? That's not right or wrong. He's coming from Chen. He's coming from the way that Yaakov spoke to Yosef on his deathbed. Because he saw Yosef HaTzadik, he was saying to his son, it's not enough just to do everything right. It's holy and it's Gewalt. But that's not what Mashiach is all about. On Mashiach level, you could fall 5 million times. But at the end, what do you say? I'm sorry, I have to be there. Do I deserve it or not? I don't know. I have to be there. How many times shouldn't husbands get second chances from their wives? And you realize I'm not saying it the other way around, right? How often, right? How often should that be, right? But really, when you're connected to a brit nislim, to a covenant of marriage, and you have chen v'chesed in your home, you say, look, on the level of right or wrong, I do not deserve to be here for one more second. But en ma lasot, sorry, I'm here. There's nothing I can do about it. And I'm not going to let go of what I have. And I'm going to keep on fighting for it, regardless of if I deserve it or not. Because what kind of parent can say, on the level of right or wrong, I deserve my child? No parent can ever say that. Ever. And yet, we still feel very connected to them and responsible. Yisa Hashem panav elecha v'yichuneka. The Radzina Rebbe says. That's the Birkas Kohanim, v'yichuneka. That chen should be part of our brachas every single morning, the way the Kohanim are blessing us. It's the middle of the second paragraph. I can have 15 houses and they all belong to me. So mazel tov. That doesn't mean they are important to me, but chen is something else. Chen means that something becomes precious and important to me. According to the halacha, to the Rambam in Hilchos Gzeila v'Aveda, if I lose an object and can't find it, there's a strong possibility that it stops belonging to me. I don't know where it is, so it stops being mine. But this is only the level of right or wrong. Imagine if something is so precious to me that I'll go to the end of the world to find it. This is the level of chen. Yaakov Avinu gave this special gift of chen to Yosef. Up until now, Yosef Atzadik's whole life had been dedicated to not doing wrong, and don't underestimate it. Do you know what it means that a person never did wrong in his whole lifetime? No one ever surpassed Yosef's holiness, absolute nobody, right? The tzaddik. Tzaddik Yisod Olam, is Yosef Atzadik. But there's something deeper than this. So before he passed away, Yaakov Avinu said to him, I want to give you a gift. I want to give you something that you didn't have before. You know how much the Holy Land means to me. I have to be buried there. And so I am giving you the Holy Land on the level of Chayin. And after that, Yosef Atzadik's holiness was that everything became precious to him. Now, what do we know about after Yosef Atzadik's life, after this episode? What do we know in the Torah about Yosef Atzadik after Yaakov dies? We know two main things, right? One is that he runs to Beit Paro, and he suddenly says, on the level of right or wrong, of course you're going to tell me that I could do whatever I want and bury my father in Egypt. But what does he do? He looks at people that are lower than him, and he says, if I have found grace in your eyes, he wants to show to them how precious Eretz Yisrael is. And he has no reason to. He rules over them. But he goes to people that are lower than him and tries to teach them what he just learned this second. And what's the next thing that we know about Yosef Atzadik? Is that the brothers then got really scared. Because what did they think? They thought, he kept on asking us when he first met us, is our father still alive? Because he wanted to know if our father isn't alive, he could have his way with us and finish us off, to repay us for all the bad things we did for him. But what does Yosef Atzadik keep on saying to them? Is your father still alive? It's nothing to do with that. The brothers thought, now that our father is dead, he's mamish going to take out all his anger on us. And Yosef Atzadik says to them, what, are you guys kidding me? Trust me. I really, really, really meant it. On the level of right or wrong, maybe I should have my way with you. Maybe I should. You threw me into a pit and sold me to Ishmaelites. And you treated me like garbage. And I see, Yehuda, you feel a little bit bad. But come on, Tachlis, on the level of Chayin, how could I not sit with you at the same table? And the whole story was they were sitting around a table and no one knew who's going to sit at the head of the table. Yosef is the ruler of Egypt, so he should sit at the head of the table. They're in Egypt. But what happened? They just heard the brachas from Yaakov, their father. Who did Yaakov make the head, sitting at the head of the table? Yehuda. And Yosef says to them, what, are you kidding me? Are you guys kidding me? Yeah, on level of right or wrong, we're in Egypt. I have to show I'm covered here. But who are we talking about? We're Yidden. It's much, much deeper than that. And for as long as Yosef Atzadik continued to live, he lived really with that last gift that Yaakov gave him on his deathbed. So Yehi Ratzon, it should be a schus in the schus of the Ishbitz Yortzeit, in the schus of our Rebbe's incredible, mind-boggling Torah that we should see Chayin in each other all the time. And that when we look in the mirror, we should also see Chayin, and that we should absolutely stop this whole avodah zarah of self-persecuting ourselves. Because just make a mental note, it has gotten you nowhere. Just keep on going there over and over again. But the way to make that mental note permanent is if you sprinkle Chayin on that mental note. Instead of having to drill it inside over and over and over again, tune yourself back into the deathbed of Yaakov Avinu and realize being here in Eretz Yisrael in today's day and age is not just because it's right or wrong. We try telling the world it's right that we're here because it makes sense. That didn't work. You'd think after 6 million are in the ovens that would be enough on the level of right or wrong to legitimize our existence here. So it's not going to work like that. It'll only work with one thing. When we can look at each other with Chayin, the whole world will look at us like one giant ball of Chayin. And then there won't even be a question of, so now can we have peace? We'll already be dancing with every non-Jewish person in the world before we notice it. Because we'll finally learn how to dance with ourselves. This is the real will and testament of Yaakov Avinu, and this is how Yaakov Avinu sends us off into Galus, And without that, we're going to stay in Galus forever. Chas v'shalom. Without Yaakov Avinu's way of saying goodbye to Yosef, you'll never leave. You can even come to Israel and unfortunately be in a complete mental galus, like we see so often. And Bezrat Hashem, our tshuva, like Rav Kook spoke about, that we should be utilizing and taking notice and living walking on all the incredible paths that our fathers and mothers already walked on for us. It's something you gotta do tshuva about. Don't wait till Yom Kippur. Start already from this Parsha. Cry over every word of the Torah, every pasuk. And Bezrat Hashem, we'll see you all next Monday. Right? Next Monday, Bezrat Hashem. Shekayach, everyone. Thank you so much for coming.